Welcome to today's Texas Coaches to Coaches. Today we have Coach Jeff Chandler of Cy Creek High School and the Cypress Fairbanks Water Polo Club. Jeff has been in Texas since 2007 and coached at Cy Creek High School and won 2 state championships. Before that he grew up in the Lodi kind of area of Northern California, and he's coached anywhere from high school to college. And Jeff is going to do 6-on-5 offense today. So Jeff, thank you so much for doing this, and the floor is all yours. You already have the PowerPoint kind of pulled up. So.
Yep, great. Thank you. Thanks for everyone coming on. Just talk about the power play offense and the 6-on-5, and some of it. It's kind of just basically everything is taken from the USA Water Polo magazine, or not magazine, but their coach's manual. Here's a basic 4-2 setup, which majority of teams that you play or that you would be running. If you didn't want to run this, you would run a 3-3 where you'd bring the 6 up or something like that, or 1 depending on where the ball is or how your offense was structured. So, and the way I think of the 6-on-5, I think it's the backbone of the game, as far as if you win or lose by how your team executes man up or man down, or woman up to person up or person down. Sorry to be politically correct there, Sabrina. And then, if you have execution, it's going to look like, just the rhythm of the passing and the tempo, 1-2 thumps pass, 1 pump pass, something like that. And then the biggest thing I think at the starting of the exclusion is obviously both, but more often to recognizing and communicating the exclusion and where it's at. The 6-on-5 is not for resting. You need to attack. You can expose that person down defense at the beginning of the 6-on-5, because a lot of the times, if it's not the coach, you'll have the player that'll be going, "What? I didn't, that wasn't an ejection, or why was that called?" So there's a good time to attack right there. Looking for the quick. I know it with our club and my high school team, we emphasize that, doing the quick, just as far as getting that ball moving, recognizing the person who is open, as far as that would be the person that had the exclusion. Now, if the exclusion was with the ball, now with these lovely new rules, there's going to be some fun with that. And I know a lot of us really, unless it's a quick, we're basically don't force a bad shot. Try not to turn the ball over, if you're forcing something. And then the attack of that offense, it must be controlled. So everybody's moving. And I always say you're tied to your teammate. And as they move in a certain direction, you're still that distance apart, but then you feel that other pocket to where they've created when they've opened up, or you've opened up for them to create. And then we're open, like I just said, opening up for shooting lanes and everything. Get that going. You just basically not trying to force things. We're looking for windows. As you're moving with the ball or moving without the ball, all players have their strengths and weaknesses, and we're making sure that we get the post players to the post and the perimeter players to their spots. So I'm sure most of you have certain positions that you want your shooters to be outside and not sitting on the post, and you have your less experienced or poorer shooters that are on the outside. So you want to make sure that those kids know, hey, when we're a man up, you're at the 2, you're at the 3, and the rest of you guys fill around, especially if you have a lefty, which is, we always call the golden goose. They're going to be on that left-hand side at 5 or 6, and then you can use them on that 2 post at times if you wanted to also. So it was, starting wide, making sure that attack is moving, you're all in sync. Many teams will try to hit you right off the bat if you have poor spacing, and then the counterattack starts in a bad pass, and you're going to turn the ball over and not make your coach very happy. I think Sabrina talked about it last week, and I think Jeff Otten, knowing what to do with the ball before you receive it is key. You're gathering information at all times, knowing where the posts are located. Everybody must know what to do with the ball before they receive it, which is just, I don't know how to overemphasize that. That's a really key part of this. The tendency of the defense is to watch the ball. So while the defense is watching the ball, the offense should be able to move into better positions and take advantage of the posts and the 1 and the 6. The 6-on-5 player will quickly process 4 important factors. Okay, where is the ball? Where are the posts? And then where is the 5-on-6 playing in my area? And then where are those open shooting lanes? And then when I'm receiving the pass, the next action has to be already decided. So your kind of chest as you've moved your pawn and you're anticipating your teammate to move theirs, you've already, kind of anticipated that move and you're already moving without that. Key with everything, balance, body position, no matter if you're man up or you're man down. Players, they've got to remain on balance, getting ready for the next pass, preparing your body to shoot and to receive the ball. So you have that shoulder facing where you're getting that ball from. Too many young players catch the ball and then prepare their bodies to shoot. So emphasizing that you have your base position, you're balanced in the water, and you're ready to go when you receive the ball. So we talked about that a little bit, having an active post players. So they're moving, away from the ball into the 2 meters. If it's being opened up by 1 or 5, 1 or 6, when they're moving with the ball inside 2 meters, they can come out, forcing X3 to overcommit to the strong side, creating shooting lanes for the perimeter players. I always try to have my handsier people at the post, if you know what I mean. So I'm able to maybe grab as that 3 is sliding from side to side on defense.
You mean use your leverage, right?
Yes, sorry. Using my leverage. Using my leverage to be able to slow down the X3 as he's moving with the ball. Post players must follow the ball. Obviously, you got to know where it's at. So if you get the ball thrown to you quickly, you're able to react. We'll see a video of that in a little bit. And come to drills. This is something that
Hey, Jeff, can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah, Felix, no problem.
About the post players.
Yes.
I think that this is a great clip. I think something that we have to emphasize with our post players is to be ready for the ball. I tend to always say have your right hand, like having your hand out of the water, so that you're showing your teammates that you're always ready for the ball. Because sometimes, that the timing of it could always be thrown off. If you're open, put your hands in the water, and the ball comes, by the time you get your hand out, the defender might be able to get on it. So I always tell my post players to have your right shoulder towards the ball out of the water so that you can catch it and shoot it before the defender has time to react. Just want to throw that in there.
Oh, great. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. I was saying some of the drills that I've played with or kind of screwed around with or I was coached. One was the red hat drill where you have your 7-on-7, you have 2 goalies and your 6-and-6 or 5-on-6, but you have one person that is wearing a goalie cap or a different color than the other 2 teams. You can start out, that person is the all-time offense. So remember back in the day when we were playing pickup football and you'd have, I'm all-time quarterback. Well, that's what this player is now. It's the all-time offensive player. So they'll always be a man up and they'll always be on offense. And we normally started in a half court and then run a couple times with them in it, and then we'll start counting on anything. Most of the time, I try to get that hat to be on the posts because if they're up top at 4 and 5, it's an easy counter goal. Sometimes I let them do that, but most of the times I'm trying to get them to go to the post. A couple other drills were start out, building up to your 6-on-5 where you have 3 or 4 players and then you with no defense and then you go into a full 6. You can start with the 1 and the 4, 5 and 6 on the perimeter, passing the ball. You can add 2 and 3 and then switch to the 1 and in one full 6-person offense. You're practicing not to skip the ball, meaning as we're skip passing is going from 1 to 5 to back to 1 or 6 to 4 as we're going across, so we're skipping one of those people. So I try to have them going, station to station, basically on the perimeter. We also have what we run a little execution scrimmage. I'm sure we all have done this before. My kids hate this because the minute the whistle blows and I throw in the ball, anybody that moves, that person's ejected. So we'll work on that real quick. We'll do that at a half court. Like it says, we're rewarding aggressive offense on that first move when the whistle's blown. You can play it any way you want. You can counterattack. You don't have to counterattack. And then I had this one where we ran a passing sequence. Hope I can explain this. Where you're giving your kids a routine to follow. You can do this without or with defense, making sure that the post players and everybody else, well, all of them are moving without the ball. No one should be sitting in one spot. So an example of that, as we that positions, the numbering system, we can go 1 to 4, 1 to 4, then 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and then 5, 6 pass back and forth, and you can go back to 4 to 1 to shot. And then you can implement some of those patterns where you're using the post at the end. Kids kind of have, mine at least, kind of have a little fun with this when you give them numbers to go on, and they have to, well, they're thinking a lot more than just sitting and watching. And then I have some videos, pull up here. Yep, I got to stop sharing and reshare, right?
Yeah, Jeff, can you just kind of explain a little bit a lot of your passing sequences and then the build-up one that you talked about, where you don't skip a pass, because I see high school boys, the 1-6, 1-6, and they might make 1 out of 3 passes. And I rarely see a high school girls group or an 18 and 16 and under girls group actually make that pass kind of successfully. Yeah. So can you just explain what's the importance of that?
As far as not skipping the ball?
Yeah, just not skipping the ball, and kind of what that does.
Yeah. It kind of holds that defense to that one side or to that position or the ball's at. And then if you can get some movement on the other side, open up a skip pass where you can have that, or open up on the post. Mm-hmm. Just, I guess, kind of getting that defense to stay. You got that goalie sitting there, and then all of a sudden you can make that 1 to 5, and then they can throw it to a post or back to 6, or if they wanted to go back to 4, they could.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Jeff is talking about, just if you're doing like the 6 of it, just keep it simple and the short under control, and just kind of move that defense around and just find that kind of opening, and then you do the big skip pass. Don't try to do these complex things. These examples of these passing sequences are simple, they're close, they're easy, and just kind of keep it simple for your athletes.
Right. Yeah, and I'll again.
No problem, Felix. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I jumped in a little late. You might have said this earlier, but going to that, I totally 100% agree. I think those short passes, if like when I'm talking about 6-on-5 offense, I'm always saying you're trying to locate your 3-on-2, your 2-on-1, right? You're trying to limit. So you have to make defenders make a decision, and I think the short passes, the movement, you starts moving defenders away from where you're setting up. So so the short passes as you move, and I'm not big on faking the ball. I have them. Yeah. The way they fake for me is to move into open waters, and I always say move away from where you're passing the ball to. The other thing I say for if they're going to skip a pass is because you're setting your teammate up. You want to go 1 to 5 centers because 5 centers ready to catch and shoot. If you're not setting up a catch and shoot, skipping a pass, again, this is my terminology when I say if you're not setting it up, don't skip. I think only you skip if defender's cheating on 4, right? Or your 5 or 6 is in position to catch and shoot because you just draw the goalie over. Just that.
Mm-hmm. And Felix, I think you're talking about is not just kind of moving into open space, with the ball, but it's also kind of moving into open space without the ball as well. So you're moving, so everybody's moving together.
Yeah, I think the most successful 6-on-5s, it's really, really important to know what that you need to know what you're going to do with the ball before you get it, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't have that much time, and so it's like you don't have time to get the ball and then make a read. You're making your reads before you get that ball, so that and you're moving. I always say 2 moves away from where you're passing, then attack the goalie, attack the defense to lock them, unless you're setting yourself up. So yeah, so definitely you got to move with and without the ball to draw defenders make decisions. And the best way to say for me 6-on-5 offense, the most successful ones when you make that one defender make the wrong decision. You're waiting for that one defender to make the wrong decision to create your 3-on-2, your 2-on-1. There's always that one defender who's gonna says, "Oh, I'm gonna go chase and knock you down," and then it opens up what you're looking for.
Exactly.
So got a couple of videos, and thank Chris Cullen for these. Going from your 6-on-5, going from a 4-2 rotation into a 3-3. We're all in that 4-2 here. I'm passing the ball, just like Coach Felix said. They're not pumping the ball; they're moving into open water there, and now one has come up, and now they're in a 3-3. So you can do that a couple ways. And then we have the 6-on-5 pass from 6 to 2. This is one of my favorite plays if we can run this. You get that righty over there to sit. And like we were saying, then the guys like to skip pass, and there it is, boom. So like Coach Felix was saying, you're waiting for that one defender to make the mistake there. And then 3-post movement with a 6-3 pass. Good, moving down that one end, and we come all the way over to a 6. And then boom. So you've got that quick pass there, is up, defenders. I don't know what he's trying to do there, but playing good defense, I don't think.
He's trying to use his leverage.
There it is. Yes, that's right. And this one we've got here, the 4-2 pass. If I can get it going. There we go. Ball at 6, moved over to 4. That 2-post on this, I really I see.
So dumping the ball in the corner, puts it in play, and then.
Can you make the screen larger?
Yeah. There we go. All right. That it there, Chris? Yeah. So that 2-post really moves, though. It's not a direct pass, direct down line. You see him moving over there. And boom.
And that's a 4 middle play, correct?
Yes. A 4-2. Okay. And that was all of my videos there. Again, thank you, Chris, for allowing me to use those. If we have any questions on any of that, sorry, I'm hot as hell out here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about, like, because going over most of those clips, you saw that you talked about the post players moving in, making sure, like, a lot of the times, and I know when I coached the high school and the age group level, it's always like, the person who you're trying to hide, you put them on a post, right? And in reality, it's almost like your best ball handler, the person who is going to have to finish because they have very little time. Like, developing really good post players is such a key thing that sometimes we forget. It's almost like the old myth of finding the goalie. Oh, he can't swim. They're not very athletic. Let's put him in the goal, right? When you need the most athletic person in the cage. And I feel sometimes like when we're looking at the post players and we tend to just hide people in the post, when in reality, they need to be your most trusted ball handlers, the person that you know that when they get the ball in their hand, they're going to finish because that's the only option they have.
And they can also move back and forth, and they know where to move into open space. They know that, like, the 2's going to be even with 6, the 1's going to be even with 3, and move back and forth. And I'm sure we've all been there before.
Yeah.
Who is always inside of 2 meters right when there's a 6-on-5 goal? It's going to be the post player. So there you go. Yeah, thoughts, Jeff?
No, I just listening.
Oh.
No, but I mean, so I do have a question for you, Jeff. Now, you coach high school and club. Now, for high school, how often do you do kind of the 6-on-5 each week and such?
Well, at the beginning of the year, we kind of it's mainly just I guess once we start getting to play or to get ready to start to play a game, and we get into our season, the tendency for me is to spend probably 75% of my practice on offense and defense, and getting those kids to realize either I'm doing the exclusion game or I'm doing the red hat drill or we're doing the sequence. Just trying to get them, okay, whistle was blown, we recognize, now where we got to go, what do we got to do, anticipating the next movement and where everybody's going. I think, like I said, there are times, and strategy with that whole thing. I mean, there are times when I've called timeouts and I didn't score any of them. And there are times when I didn't call a timeout the whole game and they didn't miss a 6-on-5. It's just like rolling the dice sometimes. But I mean, as far as that practicing stuff, I think is as you get closer to the game day, I guess I put a lot more emphasis in the 6-on-5.
And then as the season goes on, do you do a little bit more down in the postseason time frame?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I actually, a couple of years ago, I just stopped, unless it was for fatigue purposes or personnel, like last minute, I just stopped calling timeouts on 6-on-5 because if you're going up against a good coach, right, now you're giving them an opportunity to set their defense and do something. You're going to run a play and they're going to run something that completely is going to obliterate, and then your athletes just get caught up in doing something. And so I stopped calling timeouts completely on 6-on-5 because it just, and I have this, also the mindset is attack early or attack late. It's also like if you don't see an opening quick, if you see it, take it because the defense has to get set. If you don't, it's best to attack later because it gives you time to set it up. Again, just some basic philosophies that I think you can kind of apply if it fits you to what the age group that you're working with. But I actually spend we do 6-on-5 almost every day. There is not I think the last 15 minutes of practice we're doing 6-on-5. And because it's an opportunity for your defenders to work on shot blocking and movement, right? So they're getting used to your offensive players get a chance to also just make reads as they move. And it's just while you're working on power play, you're also applying other fundamentals that you can offensively and defensively. And I just think that 6-on-5 is, you always go back to every game that's won or lost against equal competition. And the difference ultimately is, well, we went 65% on offense. They went 80%. We lost the game by 2 goals. And I think you can go back and you can really see how that is a big part of the game that we sometimes forget to get more repetition in it as you especially as you get closer to the end of your season.
Right.
Yeah. So
Jeff,
then,
I'm sorry.
Yes, Ian.
no,
Go
no,
ahead, Ian.
yeah, just go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I wanted to come back to passing sequences for a second, and just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about them. I think it's really important. And full disclosure, I run a lot of passing sequences in 6-on-5 and zone attacks because they're the right reads and it draws defense and it does things when defense is predictable, right? And I think in hearing you talk about a lot of these and talking about it myself, we're talking about predictable passes that our team can be prepared for, and frankly, more importantly, that our team can actually make successfully, right? That will land on someone's hand and then allow us to make the next perfect pass that will keep defense engaged. I would just want to come back to a little bit more of the broad topic, right? Of are there times where you try to balance that ever with giving them that freedom for more of a long-term approach? Or is it always sitting in, are you always sitting in sequences all the time?
With the younger ones, I try to have a sequence going with them because it basically will speed it along, I guess, like you were saying, opens up, you can see them draw the defense in. With the high school kids, sometimes, and we all know you can't control the beasts, the boys. With the girls, I have a little easier time with them, but it depends on, as we get in later in the year and I get a little more confident with how they're playing and they're able to do that. Heck yeah, man. Because like you said, you're making that defense play on that one side and you're opening up another person, or if they're not, the defense is just sitting and watching, well, that's easy pickings also.
Well, and I love the fact for you that you're talking about not just the understanding, right, but you have a true why behind how you're doing that, right? And I think that's really important for everyone to hear too, is you're not just running, whatever, 6'5", 6'5", 4 center, 2 post dunk every single time because that's the play you want to run, right? Like
Right.
you're running that based off wanting to pull defense away, based off wanting to set something up, but also based off predictable passes that you know your team can make. And I think your comment about like, there's been times later on in the year where I let them go because I don't call timeouts in these situations because they start thinking about it, right? What's this next pass supposed to be? Am I doing what coach asked me to do, right? Versus that like innate, like we know this play, we've run this all the time, we know what we're running, and like it just comes out better because they're not thinking about it, right? And they're just moving and locking the defense in those situations. What's something that maybe you talk to your teams about in those sequences, right? When like a team does something to correct it, right? Or counter rotate what you're supposed to be doing, or does that happen? And like, what's something that you kind of talk to your team about in those sequences?
Yeah, it does happen a lot. You know, if a defense decides to, you know, go out and jump on somebody, or it'll sit on the five, or sit on one of the dominant shooters we have on the team, possibly slide up into a 3-3. Or, you know, I find that if I do call a timeout, that it's a sequence, or we're going to start off, we're going to move. There's not going to be where we're just going to come in and sit in our 6 spots and then boom, the whistle blows and we start passing. I'm going to try to get, you know, either the post players in the middle to run something. I don't know what you guys call jukebox or reverse jukebox or whatever, you know, the rotation is, whatever the rotation is.
It's called moving triangles for San Diego Shores, right? So.
Moving triangles. All right. But
I like jukebox better.
Just trying to get, you know, and with the high school kids, we're in a 6-lane shallow deep pool, so I don't get much time to, you know, we counter, but it's counter down to the shallow end, do a flip turn, and we're coming back.
Yeah.
But that whole 6-on-5 stuff, I think the point where I think everyone's trying to make is that sequence is you get into a pattern and you explain to those kids, hey, if once I make that pass from 1 to 4, 1 to 4, and it goes to 5 to 6, well, then one should be possibly open again to maybe that 6 to 1 pass if they're going inside and everything.
Well, and the thing that triggered me too is Joe brought up the 6 to 1 and 1 to 6 pass for sure, and like I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
But then I watch college games and it's epic, and we actually run a play for high school where we throw the ball 6 to 1 in our normal like front court 6-on-5 read, and it's an option that they have to throw it there. But right, the benefit or the detriment to the ball dropping in the water and just crushing your 6 in rotation, right, or your 1 in rotation always drives me crazy. So that's where my mind was going with all this, was like the balance and the freedom to make those kind of decisions based off where they're all looking. So
and that's probably a sliding scale as well. You know, you only have certain guys or girls that you trust to make that 1-6 pass. You know.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what Ian was saying there, once that ball hits the water, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
And I know Felix in the college game, it's a lot faster. So if that ball hits the water at all, girls or boys, 6-on-5 is pretty much over.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Just as much as you think it's different, it's really the same. A lot of the stuff that you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, and it's almost like reinforcing. Like me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. More people think this way, right? So that's so it's not as different as you think. Is, you know, I think that I'm not, like I said, I obviously have kids that played for Ian, and so I know how complicated things, how smart they are when it comes to making adjustments and stuff like that. So I tend to be like, I always like my mindset is like, okay, that 1-6 pass, I'll use that as an example, right? How often do you let them do that at practice, right? And if you're practicing it, then you're allowing them to say, hey, look, you practice it, then you can, I'll give you permission to do it in the game. Don't do it in the game. And I'm going to say, like, first thing I'm going to say is like, how often do you make that pass in practice? Coach, never, but then don't make it in the game. All right. If you can't practice it and get the reps in it, you know, and while I'm thinking, I actually have one game that hopefully I can, and this is probably, and I'll tell you right now, you play this game with your teams, it could be the best thing you could ever done, as far as like, it's literally something that the teams are like, oh, can we play baseball? Can we play baseball? I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. So this is a 6-on-5 game. All right. And I got it from Ted Minutes, who's the Harvard coach before he went to Harvard.
Okay.
And he told me this. And I don't bring it up to him again because I don't think he does it at Harvard, but I do this all the time. And so you basically, it's half court 6-on-5 and it's competition. And if you know baseball or softball, you play innings, right? And so offensively, you're rewarding your team for if they score from the post, it's a triple. So they get 3 bases, right? If they score from 1 or 6, it's a double. And if they score from up top, it's a single. There's no home. Well, actually, so that's how you do your sequence of, okay, post scores, you're on third base. The one scores, it's a double, you score a run. So that's how you track your runs. I added a garbage goal as being a home run. So it teaches your team to, like, especially your defenders, once the goalie makes a save, don't stop and go to offense. Make sure that we get the ball. So I started incorporating that as a home run, as a way to reward the post players for being aggressive, going after a loose ball, but defenders making sure they clear the ball, the goalie making sure they clear the ball until they. So that's a home run. Now, I also, and how do you get an out? Obviously, if the goalie blocks it out of bounds, it's an out. I don't give them a corner throw, a steal, a missed shot. But I started adding as we get further along in the season. If you miss the entire cage on a shot, like meaning not a hits the top bar and it goes out, that's missing the cage. Like basically where the team gets it, the ball turns over. Like if you miss the entire cage, that's a double play. So if you have 4 going center and they sky the ball, that's 2 outs. I mean, because I'm a big believer, don't miss the cage. This game is the cage is so wide.
30 square feet.
Yeah, make the goalie block today. So if they miss the entire cage, it's a double. It's a double play.
Double play.
And then the other thing that I started adding, again, the more advanced, the better they get. If they put the ball in the water, it's an out.
Yeah.
So we try to do 3 innings. I think trying to stretch more than 3 innings, it's at the end trying to go 15 minutes, 3 innings with each team. And then just like baseball, if a team is up and they're the home team, right? So they play defense and they come up with a stop at the end, they don't get the game is over. They close the game. So it's by far one of the most entertaining thing the athletes want to do. They're like, oh, let's play baseball. Let's play baseball today. I think 6-on-5 is like, like I said, obviously by me saying this stuff, it's something we spend a lot of time on and making it competitive situations for them. It actually almost gives you a game-like feel for any time you do it. The other fun thing that I do, and again, I'm sorry that I just love this topic so much. The other fun game and then my assistant coach actually came up with this game accidentally, and then I call it the 2-minute drill. You get 2 minutes to score as many goals as you can. And the goalie has to retrieve the ball and give it back to the offense. The goalie can't, the goalie's on no one's team. They're trying to make the save, but if they score, they got to get the ball and give it to the offensive player. And they get 2 minutes to score many goals, right? So they score 6 goals. Now the other team gets 2 minutes to score, and then that literally takes 5 minutes. And you would believe you can't believe how competitive that environment is. And it's literally 5 minutes of 6-on-5, 2 minutes each, right? Where it's just so competitive and everyone's just trying to knock balls, and it just gets physical in a good way. And I just think the more the more rhythm you give them to do this, then it comes to a game. You don't have to call a timeout because they've done it so many times that they know exactly what they should be looking for and what the reads are. That's just my 2 cents of 2 fun things that I like to do on 6-on-5, and figured I'd share that with you because obviously someone shared it with me and I stole it, so I might as well give it back and share it. And I think it's so much fun.
So is that how you are able to kind of include those at the end of every practice? Just kind of throw it in at the end of practices and such like that?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll introduce it early, spend a little bit more time while they get the rhythm. And then it's like, how much time we have left? 10 minutes? All right, let's play 2 innings of baseball. Or,
okay.
And so there's a lot of things. And it also depends on if it's an offensive theme practice or a defensive theme practice. If we're a defensive theme practice, you put more emphasis on the hey, you got to get on your block. I'll focus more on the blocks and missing assignments. And then the other thing that we'll do a defensive game is 2 stops in a row, 3 stops in a row. It's just a competitive environment, and we have 10 minutes and we're playing 3 stops in a row, and there could be a team playing for all 10 minutes defense because they can't come up with it, and that's too bad. and then don't, then, you know, and so
Stop the ball.
Yeah, stop the ball. And I think that's just ways that I've come up with creating a competitive, friendly environment, right? Where they're getting reps and not even knowing it because they're just playing. And the intensity is a little bit, you're going to pick up the intensity in practice a little bit more. So yeah, that's just things that I feel like in it. Because again, I think 6-on-5 and 5-in are the most critical things in water polo, you know, especially when you're talking about two equal teams.
Mm-hmm.
And what separates them is usually how better they are at putting the ball away in those opportunities and defensively stopping them.
Correct. Yeah, thank you for sharing that baseball game. I know I'm going to be using that, and I know there's another gentleman on here that's going to steal it from me too.
Yeah, and if you want me to write it down, I will. And just send me an email. And because it's really and the athletes love it, and they love it, you know. And it's like I said, it's ironic that I got it from the Harvard coach, and he probably doesn't even run it anymore. But
so like this is great back and forth, and I appreciate all the comments and such. But Jeff, I have a question for you now. For your high school team, like can you describe like a 6-on-5 type of practice from like, you know, start to finish?
Well, like we've been saying, just taking that last 20-30 minutes of practice, and you know, like coach is saying, making it competitive situation. Sometimes it just depends on how the mood is, I guess, on my part, on what I want to do with them. Normally I'd really like to do that red hat drill because they're moving and I can get them to counter. Even when we're in a small pool, we take that passing sequence. We will run that during passing, you know, our passing time that we'll do in the beginning of practice. And then the shooting, the same thing. We'll try to set up triangles to where you're just moving that ball without pumping, and you have the 3 people moving into position to shoot.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any kind of additional questions for Coach? This has been great. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you, Felix, Ian, for the input.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. All of this is going to be posted at txwaterpolo.com at the archives there for Coach to Coaches. And next week we have Jeff Passwater is going to be doing set plays on Tuesday, and we're going to have Caitlin Kelly doing coaching women's water polo next Thursday. So I do appreciate it. Thank you, kind of everybody. Kind of Jeff and I will be sticking around for a couple minutes if you have any questions.
Hey,